The Jets offense looked rough in the preseason. We'll tell you what that means for all of the Dynasty assets next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Michael Fabiano. You can follow him on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. He's also wearing the Steve Largent.
Oh, I love Steve Largent. Love Steve Largent. And these are glorious jerseys, by the way, the Seahawks old school ones. They should bring these back.
By the way, do you know when Steve Largent retired, he was the all-time leading receiver in NFL history in terms of yardage?
Yeah.
Good player.
And you remember who was throwing him most of those passes? Lefty Jim Zorn.
Yeah, Jim Zorn, who used to be the offensive
coach of the Redskins. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some preseason losers, because Steve Largent certainly was never a loser. Let's talk about some losers coming out of the preseason. I want to start with the Jets offense, because there's been a lot of excitement about this offense for fantasy football, and I think you've been a Justin Fields guy for a little bit. You've been a Garrett Wilson as well. But Fabs, I'm kind of concerned about this offense in general. Fields was pretty inaccurate all week during practice. He was inaccurate in the preseason. Breece Hall has me worried. What's the state of the Jets offense right now?
I'm not worried about anybody. Breece Hall, yes, but I've been talking about that. I'm not worried about Justin Fields. I'm not worried about Garrett Wilson. Justin Fields is not an accurate passer, Marcus. Like, we know this. He scored over 230 fantasy points twice in his career, both with the Bears, obviously, and he completed fewer than 62% of his passes in both of those years. Listen, Tim Tebow was a good fantasy quarterback, and that guy couldn't throw a football. It was a dead duck. Looks like somebody shot the damn thing.
I know, but I'm worried about it for everybody else. I'm worried about the collateral damage.
Was the wide receiver 6 in Chicago with Fields throwing on the ball a couple of years ago. Like, so it's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, to me, like, is Fields we know he's not a good passer. Where he's a loser is that he's not really look like he's gotten any better. But also last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, now consistency was a problem. He played 6 games. I believe it was 6.
6, yeah.
He was on pace to score more points than Jalen Hurts scored. And I'm dead serious. Like, go look at the numbers. He's not consistent. He's going to have good games. He's going to have bad games. I'm not worried about Justin Fields. Because if he's a lousy passer, that's fine. It doesn't matter. If he throws for 3,200 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, and rushes for 800 yards, I'm good. And most of the targets are going to Garrett Wilson, right? He's targeted Wilson, 4 times in the first couple of games. They haven't really played that much, obviously. All 4 were incompletions. Okay, don't freak out. I'm not super worried about Fields because of what he can do with his legs. And sometimes when a guy is that productive with his feet, you, in fantasy at least, you kind of like, all right, he sucks as a passer. It is what it is. I mean, who else are they going to do? Tyrod Taylor is not even going to be ready for potentially week 1 because he had, I think he had a scope on his knee. So where are they going to go? They gave the guy $40 million over a couple of years. Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback. But this is what, when you draft him, you have to draft him knowing there are going to be boom weeks. There are going to be bad weeks. And that's just what Justin Fields is. Garrett Wilson will be fine. The targets will be there. I'm not really concerned. I do wish Fields had looked better as a passer. He doesn't. Maybe he's not ever going to be a good passer. Okay? Maybe not. That's fine in fantasy because he's going to run for 700-800 yards and give you 5-6 touchdowns. I'm not worried about that. So for me, am I dropping him in my rankings? No. I mean, right now he's the QB 22. His ADP is in the 170s. So, I mean, it's not like this is a highly, at that point, I still think he's a bargain. He's 26 years old. So I still feel like Fields is a guy that I'm not worried about, and I'm going to be going out and getting.
I'm not worried about Justin Fields from a dynasty perspective. I will say, like, if you have Justin Fields as your quarterback, either your QB1 or QB2, just don't watch the games. Like, just watch don't watch the games because it's going to be
Nobody
so
wants to watch Jets
stressful.
games except for Jets
Well,
fans
yes,
anyway.
but like he's going to grit and grind his way to being a productive fantasy quarterback. It's just going to be so ugly, and you don't want to ride that roller coaster.
Listen, Tim Tebow is, I mean, there's not even a word to describe Tim Tebow as a passer. It was beyond ugly. But he gave you 17, 18 points because he ran for 40 and a touchdown.
I know. My concern is that Fields is going to be. I just don't think Fields is a very good actual NFL quarterback.
He's not. He's not.
And we saw it last year. Like, yes, the Steelers were winning these games, but like he played awful in the Raiders game. He played the Cowboys on a Sunday night football game at home. Dallas was missing every key defender, and he was awful in that game. And it's why, like, someone like George Pickens, through the first 6 games of the season when Fields was playing, no touchdowns. And that's my fears. Like, yes, Garrett Wilson might get a ton of targets, but where are the touchdown opportunities? How many times is Breece Hall going to get goal line carries or carries inside the red zone? Is Braylon Allen going to be able to bust loose for touchdowns? Like, I just think this offense is going to be one of the lowest scoring in the league. I don't really want offense. I don't want players from offenses that aren't scoring points.
DJ Moore was the wide receiver 6 with Fields being the starter in Chicago a couple years ago. So, I mean, that's the argument against that.
I don't feel
wide receiver 6. That's really good.
But I don't feel great about this offense. And I think the offensive line is very young and still has a lot of work to do. I guess I'm just more nervous than I thought I would be about where they are at right now.
Listen, it's fine. Fields will give you agita when you watch him throw the ball. Then he runs for, a 15-yard touchdown, and you're like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah. All right. We're going to talk about some day 2 quarterbacks that impressed us. Not really. That we have us concerned going into the NFL season. But before we do that, we want to tell you we are doing a Locked On Dynasty Listener League. So here's how you enter. All you have to do is send us a screenshot of you subscribing to the channel on YouTube, and you will be entered to join our league. It's a redraft league, not a dynasty league, but a redraft league for the 2025 season. That starts today on Tuesday. So go ahead, send us those screenshots. Make sure you tag Fabs and I, and you will be entered to join our league. All right, let's talk about Tyler Shough and let me try that again. Let's try
Dillon Gabriel, baby.
Yes, let's talk about Dillon Gabriel and Tyler Shough. We will do that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I absolutely love FanDuel. It's so much fun. Plus, August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. And for just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions so you can go out and call your MVP. Maybe you're eyeing a long shot division winner like our Cowboys, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off. This is your moment. So take a flyer on the MVP race. I kind of like Michael Penix as a deep shot because I think he's going to put up a lot of numbers. Maybe you want to take, a quarterback like Joe Burrow, who's going to have to throw the ball in Cincinnati, or you can crown your Super Bowl champion in August. Maybe you think this is the year the Buffalo Bills finally get over the hump. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Let's talk about some day 2 quarterbacks. Dillon Gabriel got to start for the Browns, just like Shedeur Sanders last week. I don't want to overreact one way or the another to a single preseason performance. We should also mention that Dillon Gabriel, dealing with a hamstring injury, he missed a lot of practice time over the last couple of weeks. Thought he was okay against the Eagles, like just okay, but they didn't think much more than that.
That's what the Browns are actually hoping for, just okay.
Yeah, honestly.
They're going to be maybe the worst team in the league this season. They're going to be right down near the
bottom.
I
think the team we're going to talk about in a second is going to be the worst team.
All right,
yes,
they're going to be close. Let's just say they're going to be close. The Saints and the Browns in the toilet bowl at the end of the year, we're all here for it. But Joe Flacco is going to end up being the starter in week 1, which is great from a fantasy perspective, but they're not going to continue to ride with a 40-something-year-old quarterback all year. They're going to want to see what they have in Gabriel, who they drafted in the 3rd round, 2 rounds ahead of Shedeur Sanders. And Gabriel, listen, left-handed guy who had success at Oregon, can run with the football. So I'm not saying he's a sleeper type, but the Browns obviously liked him enough to draft him 2 rounds ahead of Shedeur Sanders, who was available at that point in round 3. And when you can run with the ball like Dillon Gabriel, and once again, we're not going to mistake him for Jaden Daniels, but that gives him a little extra boost from a fantasy perspective. Just the Browns are going to be a bad team this year. They're going to be a bad team. I don't know that any of their fantasy players are going to be exceptional. Okay, Jerry Jeudy might be good. He might not be. Jameis Winston isn't there anymore. Quinshon Judkins, whenever he comes back, he'll probably get a lot of work. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to score a ton of fantasy points in year 1. So I think there's got to be David Njoku. I think he's going to get a bunch of targets. How consistent he'll be depends on who the quarterback is for most of the season. If it's Flacco, then good. If it's Jeudy and Flacco, then good. If it's Cedric Tillman and Flacco, then good. But at some point, the Browns are going to go to the kid. And by the kid, I mean Dillon Gabriel, who by all reports is a really good guy and a team player. I know there was some controversy about him, but that was all taken out of context over the weekend. Again, he is worth taking at some point late in your dynasty startup. And whether or not he pans out, he's not going to cost you a lot of draft capital one way or the other.
No, and we've talked about before how we think between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel probably is going to have the most fantasy value, but I don't think necessarily you want to play either of these guys. But I will say one of the things that I kind of noticed right away is he is somebody that is willing to take that check down quickly. He's going to get rid of the ball out of his hands quickly. And I think actually that's great for someone like David Njoku. I think David Njoku is somebody that could really benefit from Dillon Gabriel. I think Harold Fannin, who they drafted in the 3rd round, I think he's another guy that could benefit from Gabriel starting. I don't know about Jerry Jeudy because Gabriel does not have a super big arm. He struggles a little bit to push the ball to the sideline. But if you have David Njoku in your fantasy league or these running backs, I think Dillon Gabriel could actually get them lots of underneath targets, and he's pretty accurate on those as well.
By all of the things that I've read, the people that I've talked to, the Browns want him to be their quarterback of the future. Joe Flacco's on a 1-year deal. Kenny Pickett's, he's not going to be back in 2026. So there's a world where Dillon Gabriel's your starter next year and Shedeur Sanders may be your backup. We'll see. So with that, knowing that this kid is going to end up being the starter for the Browns at some point, and Kevin Stefanski, we forget, is a really good offensive mind. He's a really good offensive head coach. And so you got to give Dillon Gabriel a little bit of a check mark there and be like, all right, well, coaching, he should be good to go. And the Browns, again, like you mentioned, Harold Fannin, Cedric Tillman is very young. Judkins obviously is a young guy, a backup in there. Dylan Sampson's very young. Browns got a lot of young players who could potentially have some fantasy value down the line, maybe some as soon as this season. But I think and there's going to be a slow burn, and it really depends on who is going to be the starter. Is it going to be Flacco for 8 games and then they go to Dillon Gabriel? We don't know. Yeah. Does Flacco stay healthy? Can Flacco be the same guy who won comeback player of the year in this offense a couple of years ago? We're not sure. So there's a lot of question marks about that. But Gabriel, to me, is the guy that if I'm drafting a Browns quarterback in Dynasty, is the player that I want, not Shedeur Sanders.
I agree. Let's talk about Tyler Shough, who started for the Saints against Jacksonville in week 2 of the preseason. They gave him a lot of opportunities, and it was a struggle. And Spencer Rattler continues to play better than him. We can talk about Shough's dynasty value in a second, but here's my concern is exactly what played out in the first half. Shough got to play the entire first half. Let's go through the drives real quick, Fabs. 5 plays, 4 yards, punt. 3 plays, 5 yards, punt. 10 plays, 45 yards, field goal. Good drive. 3 plays, -6 yards, punt. And that was the entire first half.
Oh, yeah, but I will say this. Chris Olave dropped a pass that should have been a first down and continued one of those drives. That was not on Shough.
No, I agree. But I think my concern about this Saints offense as a whole is it might look a lot like this, where if Shough is the quarterback, all of these assets, whether it's Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Alvin Kamara, I think they're all going to take a pretty massive step back because I just don't think Shough is ready to play despite being a 25-year-old rookie quarterback. I think the Saints offense could really struggle. And actually, if you have Chris Olave, if you have Alvin Kamara, I think you want Spencer Rattler to be the quarterback this year.
Oh, that's bad.
I know.
I mean, it's
not
gross,
great.
man. I'm not really worried about Kamara because he's not getting drafted like he was, several years ago where he's elite. Like he was the running back 9 last year, which is pretty good, when you consider the quarterback play and all that kind of thing, Derek Carr being banged up. So I'm not worried about Kamara because we're not expecting him to be a high end. He's an RB2 now. And, anything you get better than that is gravy. But yeah, I'm worried about Rashid Shaheed. That's why I don't have him ranked really high. I'm worried about Chris Olave for 2 reasons. 1, quarterback. 2, concussions. I don't love any of the tight ends on that roster. There's not a lot to like. There's a lot of question marks. And as we made, Saints and Browns are going to be probably the 2 worst teams in the league potentially, this upcoming season. Shough is not a guy that, and honestly, Marcus, he should be a backup. Like he should be learning behind somebody, right? Even though he's 26, which is also a reason not to draft him in Dynasty.
Yeah,
he's not ready to get thrown into the fire right now. And even if it's Spencer Rattler, he's not good either. So
no, but at least
he's not good either. So
he's not good, but it seems like he is at least competent, right? And that's honestly, if you have Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, that's all you want. I know.
Okay.
That's not great. I mean, I'm worried about it.
I would be too. I'm not worried about Kamara because I don't think we're drafting him to be an elite guy anymore. He's an RB2. I think he'll get his touches and that'll be fine.
Do you think
I'm worried about the Saints pass? I am worried about the Saints pass catchers. There's no question about that. You can't not be worried about them.
Do you think Alvin Kamara is on the team in November?
Yes.
You think
he's got a pretty hefty contract.
I just wonder,
you're all about running backs getting traded at the deadline. You're all about it.
Well, if you're the Saints and at that point, if you have 1 or 2 wins, what's it's incentive to hold on to him at that point?
I mean, I get it, but also, he's been a Saint his entire career, and behind the scenes, the team loves him. I don't know. They want to trade away basically the face of their franchise to another squad at the deadline. And, you have to also factor in the contract situation because, he's making a lot of money.
I just think there's going to be a team out there that would like to have Alvin Kamara for a stretch run. We'll see. But anyways, I just think much like the Jets, the Saints are an offense that I'm just trying to avoid at all possible. And I'm a big Chris Olave fan. I loved him coming out of Ohio State. But because of the concussions and because of all the uncertainty on that side of the ball, I'm okay missing out there. I'm okay trading away for somebody else, for somebody who's maybe a little bit less proven, because I just don't trust this offense to be competent in any way.
Yeah, I get it. I completely agree with you. There's all kinds of question marks in New Orleans. I miss the days of Drew Brees and Kamara and Marquez Colston and Jimmy Graham.
I miss Jameis Winston. Away. I would take the Jameis Winston days again, right?
There are reports that, why would the Giants even keep him? Darts look good. They got Russell Wilson. Trade Jameis maybe to the Browns because then Jerry Jeudy would blow up, but that's not going to happen. But the Saints, he was there before. It's funny too because Jameis is such like a wild card, right? He could have 1 week where he looks great, and then the next week he stinks. But it would be such an upgrade for all. If Jameis Winston were the quarterback of the Saints, I'd be like, oh man, all right, I feel way better about Olave now. I feel real better about Rashid Shaheed now. Let's make it happen, New Orleans, because otherwise you're going to win 2 games, and no one's going to be the games.
The all-time quarterback for bad teams, just so our fantasy assets can get numbers, right? There you go.
Remember, 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions that 1 year with the Buccaneers.
30 for 30.
And he was like the QB5. It was crazy.
All right, let's talk about some veteran running backs. So we're a little concerned about coming out of week 2 of the preseason. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute that you wanted to head to the ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize that you have to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without all of the stress. And with the money that you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even just invite a bigger party to the game with you. Game Time makes it all possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple, and prices on the app actually go down the closer that you get to the first pitch. And they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. My favorite feature in the app is that you can get a panoramic seat view of your seats before you buy. It's incredible. Like I want to know exactly what my view is going to look like for my seats, and you can do it in the app. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast with Vinny Iyer and Michelle Majuk. Listen every day to prep for your fantasy draft and become the most informed manager so you can take home your league's trophy this season. Find Locked On Fantasy Football on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, let's talk about some running backs that we're concerned about coming out of week 2 of the preseason. Let's start with Travis Etienne.
If you're expecting Etienne to ever come back and be the guy he was a couple of years ago, it's not going to happen, at least not in Jacksonville. So I know that he started the first preseason game, but in Sunday's game, he was the third down back. Like Tank Bigsby, who, by the way, is being picked, at 109, 110, where Etienne's being drafted at 98, you can make an argument that those guys should be flipped, especially in Dynasty. Biggs is going to 24 at the end of the month. Etienne's 26. And they actually had Tank running routes. Like he got a couple of, opportunities to be a pass catcher. And
I want to ask you about that real quick, because I was reading a report on Monday morning that it was from a Jags beat reporter. He was wondering kind of out loud if they were running routes with Tank Bigsby to maybe showcase him for a trade. And that's because that's not something they were doing.
What about Etienne? He's in the last year of his deal. Wouldn't it make more sense to trade him?
I mean, yes, I think so. But if Liam Cohen thinks that Etienne is a better fit for their offense, then maybe they don't do that.
Well, then why is Bigsby starting a game? I mean, this is going to be a 50-50 split, I think. Like, again, look at the game, right? Bigsby played first and second downs, and Etienne played on third down. Which kind of plays to Etienne's strength because he's a really good, he's a good pass catcher. Then on the second drive, you had Etienne in there. He played 2 snaps, and Bigsby played 2 snaps, and then Etienne played 4. And Etienne looked good too. Like Etienne, when he got the ball, now he's playing against the Saints. But I mean, he had one where literally the Red Sea parted, and he took it and had a big run in that game. So, but unless somebody gets traded, whether it's Etienne or Bigsby, neither one of these guys is going to be more than a flex starter this season. And it's going to be confusing as hell because we don't know who's going to get the ball more in a situation. So maybe you could say, well, if the Jaguars are playing a team where they're a big underdog, well, then maybe Etienne's the better play. If they're playing a team that they're the favorite, maybe Bigsby's going to, again, it's all a guessing game. So I'd be avoiding this. I'd like to get Bigsby because I can get him at 110. I'd rather have him because he's younger, and I think he's probably going to play just as many, if not more, snaps than Etienne this season. And he's one of my sleepers, Bigsby. Do I want either one of these guys as an RB2? No, because I don't know what the scenario is going to be on a weekly basis. It's going to be really hard to decipher that until it's not. And maybe it's like last year, Marcus, where we had no clue. Etienne was banged up, and so then you were playing Bigsby a little bit more. I'm just concerned that this is going to be, at least this season, going to be a really hard backfield to decipher until somebody gets traded or the season is over and Etienne is allowed to walk. And until that happens, this one's going to be an Excedrin headache all year long.
We're not sponsored by Excedrin, but we could be because you're right.
It's going to be. Although, it's really good when you have a bad headache, you have the headache powder, the goodie. Oh, that stuff works wonders. All right. Anyways, go ahead. Now we got to get them to sponsor the show.
I know. I think I've had a hard time figuring out this backfield. My gut tells me it's going to be Etienne because he's the better pass blocker and he's the better receiver. But I don't feel great about it. Could they trade Travis Etienne, before week 1? I could see that. We'll see. I think it's just this is a backfield that feels so much in flux that all of the guys are a little bit of a loser. Even someone like Bishal Tootin, who got 10 carries, had a rushing touchdown. He had 10 carries for 35 yards.
The yards per carry was yucky. Yeah.
And he's only playing with the second team offense. Like he's not getting any first team touches. It feels like a situation I'm going to try to avoid at all possible. I also wanted to talk about Brian Robinson, who Jordan Schultz had a report on Sunday evening that the Commanders are open to trading him. That's been rumored for a couple of weeks now that his spot on the roster is not guaranteed. This is somebody right now on Dynasty League football, RB31, 104th overall. So like this is not like just a late round flyer. It very much feels like Washington is going to be moving on from their starting running back.
It seems to be definitely a possibility, especially with Jordan coming out and bringing that up. So all of a sudden, who's going to start moving up in ADP, Marcus? Jacory, baby.
I was going to say, please don't tell me Austin Eckler because I'm not buying it. It's Jacory.
I like Austin.
I
like Austin
Eckler.
But yeah. So, and this guy is not exactly, a prominent draft pick. Okay.
Nope.
But, there's been some chatter about him and he needs to be picked in Dynasty, especially now with Brian Robinson potentially getting traded, maybe not soon, but at some point during the course of the season. And the Commanders also have another bigger problem right now is that Terry McLaurin's still holding out. So if they can't get that figured out, that's going to hurt Jaden Daniels' value, which we don't want. Okay. Because that was his guy last year. So the Commanders have some question marks right now from a fantasy standpoint with McLaurin, certainly. And then obviously with the backfield situation, if Brian Robinson, does get moved, does Krosky Merritt end up getting the starting job? And Austin
probably not. I gotta assume Eckler's still going to be in there.
Wouldn't Eckler just play that same role? I don't know. I mean, it's certainly possible.
Yeah, it feels like they want to turn this into a running back by committee approach, right? Eckler's going to handle the passing down work, and they'll have some guys that can handle some of the early down work in between the tackles. But I do agree. This is if they move on from Brian Robinson. I mean, Krosky Merritt's somebody that you're going to have to roster every single Dynasty League.
Yes.
He's not your typical 7th round rookie running back because of some of the stuff that happened to him back in college. But he's at least somebody that I'm very, very intrigued by.
Got to be on the radar. Even in redrafts, dude. People are going to pick him late in redrafts.
Oh, 100. Well, I saw a draft this morning where he went in the 6th round of a redraft. 6th round. Like he started to get like over guys like Tony Pollard and Jalen Warren and guys like that.
6th round?
Yes.
All right. That guy's
of an expert draft.
Whatever.
I think that was of one of the big $2,000 buy-in leagues. Like people are being aggressive.
Wow, dude.
Jacory Krosky Merritt.
That's wicked aggressive, as we would say from Connecticut, my home state.
There you go.
And it's wicked. It's a wicked bad move too.
I don't disagree. All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen today. Fabs is going to be off the next couple of days. He'll be back on Friday. We'll continue to update you guys with all of the latest news around the NFL and for your Dynasty leagues. Make sure you follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. You can download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms, and we will see you right back here on Wednesday.